In other news tonight, demonstrators continued their efforts today to try and stop Kinder Morgan from drilling on Burnaby Mountain.
Another 16 protesters were taken into custody, more than 50 arrested this week. As CTV's Peter Granger reports, the showdown is far from over.
On stolen native lands!
The road to the top of Burnaby Mountain is officially closed to civilian traffic, but it has not stopped dozens of protesters from marching to the top to express their freedom of speech.
All they crave for is money, and Kinder Morgan, you are damning the people with your greed! Woo!
It's proving to be an uphill battle as more police hunker down behind the line, some carrying tasers. The RCMP is there to preserve a court order to keep protesters from disrupting workers from oil industry giant Kinder Morgan. The company began drilling core samples Friday night as a first step towards tripling the size of an existing pipeline from Edmonton to the BC coast that would go through the mountain.
The federal government has let us down, and the processes that they've created, like the NEB, have failed us. And so we have Kinder Morgan in a public park going against the will of the people.
At least 16 more people voluntarily crossed under the police tape to be arrested for civil disobedience.
I feel very strongly that a foreign corporation should not be able to come into a designated conservation area and do this test drilling and put a pipeline through, but it's also about the bigger issue of climate change.
And that's why this mother brought her children to the protest.
I think that we should use green energy and that we can stop it, but the companies like Kinder Morgan, the corporations, are just doing it for the money.
These latest arrests bring the total to 53 so far this week, most for civil disobedience, but not all.
One man was arrested for assault after spitting at a police officer, and one man was arrested for obstruction.
However, in a statement made to Facebook, Vancouver resident journalist Harsha Walia described the RCMP press release as dubious.
Several media outlets have been reporting on assault and obstruct charges based on an RCMP briefing today. Folks should know that the two people who were arrested with obstruct and assault were not actually charged. They were arrested but released without charges because there was not enough evidence.
Most arrests were peaceful, some were not. A mother of one protester challenged the RCMP with a photo showing what appears to be a police chokehold on her son.
If there are any issues, there is a mechanism in place to do that. And I'm not at liberty at this point to discuss this any further.
And so the standoff continues and may well stay this way for another 10 days while Kinder Morgan continues its court-sanctioned drilling. Peter Granger, CTV News, Burnaby Mountain.
The arrests come in the midst of recent legal battles involving the city of Burnaby, the National Energy Board, and of course Kinder Morgan. But the fight against the project goes back much further.
Carefully, one at a time, the pipe joints were lowered to the ground alongside...
It was 1953 when the Trans Mountain Pipeline was built. This promotional video heralding the project as a game changer for BC. Here's Premier W.A.C. Bennett at the time.
The completion of the Trans Mountain oil pipeline is a happy event for those of us who live in the province of British Columbia.
What a difference 60 years makes. This week's protest, the culmination of opposition to expand the pipeline that's been festering for months. Kinder Morgan formally applied to twin the line in December of last year, but even before that, the project was divisive. In 2007, the existing line was pierced by an excavator spilling 250,000 liters of crude oil onto homes and cars. Some local residents pointing to that experience as a reason not to expand. More opposition last spring. NDP leader at the time, Adrian Dix, vowed to kill the project if elected in the provincial election. He wasn't, and the project moved ahead. The city of Burnaby is fighting hard to stop it too. In September, it took Kinder Morgan to court, asking for an injunction to stop the company from conducting field studies, but a judge dismissed the application. A month later, the National Energy Board ruled the city must allow the company onto Burnaby Mountain to complete its work. The city appealed, but the case hasn't been heard yet. In the meantime, the tension heats up, the arrests pile up, with no end in sight.